Welcome everyone to the June Advocacy Update, where we hear about what's happening in the downtown area and in the Downtown Madison Inc. world. I'm Jason Ilstrup, president of Downtown Madison Inc. We're excited to have the executive director of Access to Independence, Jason Beloungy, here today to talk about several interesting projects that both Access to Independence and DMI are working on through our Beyond Compliance Subcommittee. We're excited to hear from Jason in just a few minutes. But we want to thank our sponsors, our major series sponsor, Sinair. We're so thankful for you being here. And our supporting sponsors, the Fiore Companies and Hush Blackwell. And as we always do, we have Senior Vice President of Business Development, Chris Gillings, with us to say a few words from Sinair. How's it going, Chris? How are you today?
Jason, I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm living the dream. You?
Good. It's summertime. It's been a rainy spring / start to summer, which puts a wrinkle in things. But I will never look rain down after the dry years that we've had very recently. So it's a first world problem.
Well, my father grew up on a farm, and he used to always say, "You know what, Jason? Rain feeds people." So he's not wrong.
Right.
Although this amount of rain can do the opposite. So we're hoping that it all levels out.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
How is everything at Sinair? You all are up to some pretty amazing things in affordable housing and many of these community projects you're working on. How is everything?
Yeah, busy. We're entering a pretty busy time of year, as we had talked about last month with WIDA. A lot of what we do is investment in projects that have affordable housing tax credits or other incentives, either through lending or through equity to make those projects happen. And WIDA awarded tax credits last month. So there's been a lot of developers that have been in the process of applying for additional funding resources to make sure that their projects can go ahead. And we're having a lot of conversations about trying to get more affordable housing on the ground, not only across the state of Wisconsin and our whole footprint, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to do a couple of things right here in Madison, including in downtown. So that would be a very, very fun thing to do.
Well, that is quite the tease, Chris.
Yes, Jason. Yes.
I like that.
So,
well, I mean, Madison did quite well on the WIDA Awards this last time too. Several projects, including several projects downtown, really were able to receive that necessary funding to make sure their affordable housing projects move forward, correct?
100%, 100%. And affordable housing in Dane County, housing period in Dane County has been very, very tight for as long as I can remember. And that especially impacts those that are looking for a dignified and affordable place to live. So yeah, I was grateful to see Madison and Dane County, but also grateful to see communities across the state get access to the resources that they need to keep their communities healthy. As I've said many times, Jason, and one of the reasons that we lean into this series is because housing is just one factor in a healthy community. And I think one of the things that many people wouldn't realize is that WIDA, in scoring a lot of these projects, is making sure that there are accommodations for folks with disabilities, for those that otherwise may have trouble accessing housing as a resource, and then living in a sustainable way in that housing are taken care of as well. So we've done and supported a lot of projects that have had resources set aside for the disabled, for the challenged of all stripes. The flip side of that, of course, is that those residents are successful in the places where they live because of the good work of groups like Jason's and Access to Independence, other groups like Moving Out Incorporated that are there to really make sure that it's not only about getting a home, but it's about living a healthy life and making sure that folks have access to the services and the training and the support that they need to make sure that they can make the best of that home once they've got a set of keys in their hands. So I'm grateful to hear more about what Jason's doing right now in support of that. And I'm sure he's going to be hard at work supporting a lot of the new projects that are coming online in Madison.
Well, Chris, thank you for all you do. You do wonderful work for the community, and certainly can't wait to hear from our good friend Jason Beloungy about all the ways that he is supporting so many in our community. So thank you, Chris. Before we get to Jason, as always, we're going to give a quick update on advocacy work that is happening in and around the downtown and the work that DMI is involved in. A big highlight, and we've talked about this several times over the last several months, is DMI and others. Bennett and Govindarajan have stood up an affordable student housing working group that is part of the City of Madison's Housing Strategy Committee, which was tasked by the City Council to really investigate how we can create more affordable housing for students. This group is really deep into the work. We've had several meetings, brought in several speakers, had a fact finding, and we're starting to make those recommendations. We'll have an initial set of recommendations in front of the city's Housing Strategy Committee this week, and then we'll finish up those recommendations once we hear the final results of a survey and study that JLL, a national company, has put together to really look at the market and then survey the students, the students that are on campus about their housing needs. This is exciting work. There's some really strong recommendations moving forward about how we can help solve the affordable housing crisis for students. Second, the Isthmus Safety Initiative helped fund a group called Safe Growth, and Safe Growth is working on a plan in downtown through something called SEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. It's bringing the community all together to create, spaces where you're preventing crime based on the environment itself, but the community that's in with it. And we had some national experts from an organization called Safe Growth that were here just a few weeks ago. It was a really great public-private initiative with DMI, the City of Madison, and so many, the Planning Division, the Streets Division, Madison Police Department, Public Health, the neighborhood associations, the businesses were all involved in this training. And I think we're going to see a lot of great projects that come out of it. And hopefully we see a safer downtown for everyone. So we will give you updates as this work is happening over the next couple of months. Downtown Madison Inc. is partnering and helping stand up a group called CEBA, the Cap East Business Association. We're helping with the admin of the group. It's being run itself by a new board of business owners and representatives in the Cap East section. So that's basically East Washington Avenue, bounded by Main and Mifflin, and then by Butler and the Yahara as well. And it's great to see the Cap East Business Association taking off. And they had a kickoff event a few weeks ago with dozens of folks there and dozens of businesses that are interested in starting up a new economic development and business-led group in the Cap East section of downtown. And DMI is proud to help support this work. Last up, I think a lot of people have seen this, but we haven't given the update at our advocacy update, is DMI recently released a new membership video. So please do check out Downtown Madison's YouTube channel for a new membership video and send it on to all of your friends, because the more members we have in the organization, the better we all will be. All right, on to the show. We made it very easy for everyone because both the host and the guest will for now be known as Jason. You can call us J Cubed. Is that right, Jason Beloungy?
Squared now, just the two of us.
No, that's right. We got rid of one. We did. We lost one of our Jason members. It was also in the Beyond Compliance Task Force. So we're down to two, just J Squared. But I am honored to have a great friend personally, and a great friend of Downtown Madison Inc., the Executive Director of Access to Independence, Jason Beloungy, who is also the chair of the newly, and he doesn't even know this yet, it's a new title, but the Beyond Compliance Subcommittee. It's been upgraded from a task force to a subcommittee because they've been doing such great work. We're excited to hear from Jason about the work of Access to Independence, the Beyond Compliance Subcommittee, and all the work that he's doing to advocate for people with disabilities. Jason, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Are we getting over the fact that we lost one of our Jasons in the group, that we're no longer J Cubed, we're now J Squared? Are you feeling pretty good about that?
Inside, not so much, but publicly, I keep a strong look.
We miss you, Jason Glozier, if you're watching. We miss you, but you're doing great work still in the community. All right. Most important question I think here today is what is Access to Independence, and what is your work on a daily basis to help advocate for people with disabilities throughout our community?
Absolutely. So Access to Independence is an organization that's based here in Madison. We serve all of Dane County as well as 3 other counties, Columbia, Dodge, and Greene County. And we are a disability-led and run organization that provides services, advocacy, and resources for people of any kind of disability in all ages. And when I mentioned that we're disability led and run, what I mean by that is that we are required actually by federal law that the majority of the people who work for our organization, that's management, direct service staff and others, as well as the majority of our board of directors, are people with disabilities. And being cross disability means that we can serve all ages, all disabilities, regardless of what somebody's severity or onset might be, we're able to support folks. So it makes us very general and really is a nice representation of the broader disability community that we're able to interact with, support, empower, and serve. We've been around for over 46 years now here in Madison, so doing good work for a long time, but always trying to build our awareness and build our impact to not remain such a good secret as folks may think we are. And even though we are a local organization and we are independent, private, nonprofit entity, we are part of a state and national network of organizations known as independent living centers, non-residential entities that do the work that we do. And so I mentioned that we're federally recognized as an independent living center, which means we have certain services that we also are obligated to do. So we do things like information and referral, peer support, skills training, advocacy support, as well as transition services, which means helping folks who are in institutional settings relocate back to the community, helping folks avoid such settings, and working with young people who've left school, a secondary level of school, and their life and their needs after that point in their life. So those are the 5 core services, if you will, that we provide, and folks can get more detail about that on our website for that information. In addition to those 5 core services, we do additional services. So we also have a really robust assistive technology demonstration, loan, and training program, over 1,000 devices that people can try, borrow. We can help people learn how to use, help people access them, also find funding for different devices. It also includes adaptive gaming equipment. We just recently had an adaptive gaming expo a couple weeks ago, first of its kind in Wisconsin, where we were able to highlight a variety of really unique devices that help make gaming more inclusive for everybody. And so we're looking forward to the success of that event to help us move toward a new event and another event, excuse me, in 2025 and beyond. So a lot of cool things we do around technology. I also do youth services like classes for school age and high school age youth with disabilities around advocacy, employment soft skills, et cetera. And we do home accessibility evaluation work for people, whether they're in a long-term care program or not. We can support folks that way. So that's a lot of the ways that we work with people individually. We're also a community impact organization. So we do systemic advocacy work. We're advocating to legislators on disability-related policy around long-term care, transportation, housing, for example. We also do collaboration. So like my work, for example, at DMI is a good example of that collaboration that we do. And we also do community education. So doing information about voting access or housing rights, things like that. And then technical assistance, which is helping improve the accessibility of programs in community living, which takes me to the last part of our work, which is our consultation services that we do for businesses, organizations, and local governments. We do accessibility evaluations for the built environments or spaces or outdoor places. We also do website accessibility evaluations. We do festival and event evaluation, and we do training for volunteers and employees to improve inclusion and accessibility for folks who use programs or visit businesses and things like that. So just a number of ways that we're involved in the greater Madison area and with the broad disability community in our area.
It's such important and powerful work for so many in our community. Now, Jason, what are your current priorities? I mean, you talked about some new projects you're moving into. What are the current priorities of Access to Independence?
Yeah, I mean, for us, as Chris was mentioning, work around housing is a big one for us. You know, the majority of the contacts that we have in a year revolve around housing. So that's a big part for us. So we're involved, do a lot of work supporting people with, you know, what's available, how to apply, helping people actually to apply for housing, looking for funding options. Also advocacy work, people who maybe don't understand fair housing law or want to know about a service animal in their home and what does that look like. So a whole variety of ways that we engage that way. I mentioned our accessibility work, and we'll talk a lot about that today as far as our partnership with DMI. But we're doing a lot more of that in our communities, working with businesses and organizations on really how to improve not only the physical accessibility of our spaces and places, but also programmatic accessibility and disability culture and inclusion, and how do we support folks that way. So really spending a lot of time and work on that. And then also institutional transition services, working more with folks who don't want to be in institutional settings, whether it's like nursing facilities or rehab hospital, or even carceral settings, and want to relocate back to the community, and how we can support them. So just a few of the areas that are really top of our list these days of things that we've been active in doing, in addition to the cool gaming stuff I mentioned before.
Yeah, I heard such great news about the gaming event that happened just a couple of weeks ago. It was, packed and a really innovative work. One of the things that seems to me, and I know this for a fact, is that Access to Independence is really looking to partner with other groups to accomplish their work. And we are so fortunate here at Downtown Madison Inc. to have a long time partnership and alliance with our friends at Access to Independence. Jason, you've been chairing our Beyond Compliance task force and now subcommittee for the last about 5 to 6 years. Tell us about the work of the Beyond Compliance subcommittee and what you're all working on and some accomplishments you've had over the last few years.
Absolutely. So I'm really, really proud of the partnership that we've developed, and really a quality example of a public-private partnership when we look at the relationship between DMI and Access to Independence, and the city of Madison has been very involved in our work as well. And all the folks from a whole variety of different sectors of careers and employment in our area that are part of this now subcommittee. I'm gonna get used to saying subcommittee. I'll probably slip up a few times here when I'm talking about it. So.
Oh, I will too. My notes actually have written task force. I forgot to change them over and over again. So I apologize now.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But just a quick bit of history about it. So I came on and joined DMI and then the task force, now subcommittee, in 2018, which originated in an effort that was called Change the Sign, which was looking at the accessibility icon for signage in downtown Madison. And through that process, had a lot of really good dialogue where folks started saying, is this really enough? And what do we want to do to really move the needle on accessibility and disability inclusion in downtown Madison? And felt, let's expand this and let's make this broader and address those issues. And that's how the Beyond Compliance Task Force was originated. And we really established a fundamental goal from the beginning, which is a fully accessible and inclusive downtown Madison. And while that seems simple in statement, it's certainly complex in getting us to that goal. And I think having this kind of a partnership through this now subcommittee is really a tool that's been effective so far in the change we've been able to do, and will prove really effective long term in the work that we're going to accomplish together. So that's how the task force started. And from there, when we began, we sort of asked the question of, well, where do we prioritize, right? We want to do this broad goal. Where do we start? And so the then task force said, let's find out from the community itself, the disability community itself, what are the big barriers to living, working, and playing in downtown Madison? And so we developed a survey that we had nearly 100 respondents from the greater Madison area who responded to that, primarily folks with disabilities, with a variety of disabilities who responded to that survey, and identified key barriers to enjoying downtown Madison, whether it was transportation or mobility, accessing private businesses or parks, or attending events, for example. And so that survey process in 2018 helped establish our work. In 2019, we did a report and really outlined and highlighted what folks were saying and what we wanted to focus on. And then in 2020 came the pandemic, and we sort of looked at, like, well, what do we do with this great information when things are shut down, and how does this align with the reality of what's happening? And at the same time, the city of Madison began a streetery program. And the city said, we want to make sure we still keep businesses open and offer outdoor dining as an opportunity. And the task force looked at that and said, what is being done to ensure that that opportunity and that program is being made accessible and inclusive to folks of all disabilities and all ages? And when we dove into that, we learned there was more that we could do to support that particular program. And so in 2020, we developed and released an accessibility guide for the Street Read program specifically, that the City of Madison staff would actually provide to applicants for the Street Read program. And so it provided a good overview about just real simple facts around, pass the travel and seating and things like that, that people could do and understand to make sure their spaces were accessible. So that was a project we did in 2020. In 2021, as the community was really starting to do more when it came to activities and festivals and events, the task force said, well, what do we do about ensuring accessibility and inclusion now that we're starting to see festivals and events opening up again? How do we really support and engage that? And through that conversation, through that process, the task force came up with the Festival and Event Accessibility Guide. And I'm actually going to just quickly share my screen. One of the things I wanted to share before I moved on to the other document here was the report. So I'm just going to quickly share, and folks can find this on the DMI website. So if you go to the DMI website, downtownmadison.org/beyond-compliance, you can find all these resources that I'm talking about today. But here's a copy of the guide, the report, excuse me, that outlined all the different issues, the barriers, and again, it gives a good snapshot of what it is that folks were mentioning at the time. So the festival and event accessibility guide that we put together, as I mentioned, came out in 2021. And so I'll share a quick copy of that so folks can see what I'm referring to there. And here it's got a picture of an event down in the Capitol Square. And this particular guide highlighted a whole number of facets related to festivals and events, from parking and drop-off areas to concessions and seating, to stages and event accessibility, or the performance accessibility, to restroom accessibility, especially in temporary or portable environments. And so this guide really became, and has been continued to be used as a very handy guide for that work. And so in addition to the guide, we also felt having a guide with this much information can be a bit overwhelming to people who, especially volunteer groups who do event planning and coordination. So can we provide a training? And so we did that later that year in 2021, where we put together a training for folks to learn about not only what is this content, but how do you apply it to what you do in your event, and really got good feedback from that. So that was our project in 2021. And then in 2022, we had a lot of conversation about, if we're going to move the needle, we have to really get more about the origins of where accessibility and inclusion can go wrong. And part of that was in the building design process. And we had conversations around how do we actually get messaging out to folks who design buildings and spaces? And how do we have conversation with people who speak that language, as well as conversation with folks who live with disabilities and see the result of good intentions but bad outcomes? And how do we bring those issues together? And so we had a virtual accessibility design forum in 2022 that DMI hosted, where we had 3 different panels that focused on a few different topics in there. On the page, which I'll share again here really quickly, we have on here the 3 different forums that folks can go to, and these are all on YouTube as well. But talking about the process, understanding what that process means for design and for accessibility and inclusion, how we value accessibility and make that a priority. So often it's an afterthought or thought of as a compliance mandate rather than an opportunity to make spaces and places better for everybody. And then looking at multifamily housing with universal appeal and how we can do more, not only just the basic minimum ADA compliance, but common areas and units that go above and beyond and meet the needs of more people at a time when they may need that accessibility and inclusion. So it was really terrific. And again, it was a mix of folks who work in those spaces and folks who live with disabilities in that panel. And I was really proud to see that come together and to have that dialogue and that information still be available for folks today. So that was 2022. And then 2023, we began to have a conversation about our impact as a task force. And we thought, how do we know what we're doing is working? And we began to talk about projects we had already done. And through that process, we had at the same time had learned that the Streetery program was going to now be permanent. And so we thought, well, let's go back and revisit that effort. That was one of our first efforts we did back in 2020. And so what we started with is we did some updates to the guide that we had created and got that back out to the city, learning there were some things that could be improved on that guide. But we also had a conversation about, are the people who actually need to know this information getting the information? And what I mean by that is the folks who work at the host station, the folks bussing tables, the folks waiting tables, the folks doing cleanup, people setting up the spaces for outdoor dining, in addition to managers and others who maybe knew there was a guide but didn't get a chance to read it, or there wasn't some training that could dive a bit more into that. And so I thought, how do we actually get this information out to people that isn't just tucked into a bunch of other regulatory materials or manuals? And so we came up with the concept of creating an accessible outdoor dining campaign using sort of TikTok style videos. And so we worked on planning and did our video shoot in 2023. And I'm really excited to say that as we got into 2024 and we worked on all the other details, which I had never worked on a video project like that before, and it was a learning curve for me on the amount of time it takes to develop this stuff, to do it really professionally and do it really well. And so I'm really excited that now in 2024, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be launching that campaign. And so we're going to be doing a big social media push. There'll be a new landing page. And as a teaser for folks, I wanted to share a couple of videos from that, if that's all right with you, Jason.
Absolutely. And while you're queuing that up, I just have to say how much impact that this group has had. And because it's a true partnership between the public and private sectors. You have obviously Downtown Madison Inc. and the different business and nonprofits that we're involved in. Jason's work in the nonprofit space, helping people with disabilities, but also the City of Madison's Disability Rights Commission, and the team and the Human Rights Division have been such steady partners in this work. And so we've been able to slowly work through the Downtown Madison Accessibility Report and get some things accomplished. But that's only thanks to the hard work of so many partners, both public and private, that have worked on this. And I think you start to see why we're calling this the Beyond Compliance Task Force. It's about moving beyond just complying with the ADA, but doing more, including training staff, which, that's an area I know well from my hospitality days. This is so important. I will say, though, Mr. Beloungy, the only negative about the videos is they certainly made me look like the bad guy often. So maybe, I don't know if you're teasing one of those videos today or not, but check it out. You'll see me being about as rude as I can be out there.
It's an opportunity to highlight that, because if you ever want, anybody who's met you for more than 30 seconds would know the person in the video is not you. But if you ever wanted to imagine what nasty Jason Ilstrup might be like,
well, here you go.
A little taste of it without having to feel that in real life. So
I don't have a lot of acting credit, so I'm wondering if now on IMDb I'm just going to be typecast as an evil character, right? I'm gonna be, yeah, yes. Well, we'll see. Well, we can't wait. Got these videos queued up.
I do. So the first one is Path to Travel. Jason's not in this first one, but this one highlights how we make sure that getting to the space and getting around the space is accessible. So I'm going to cue this up. And these are really brief, so they won't take long.
Accessible outdoor dining, paths of travel. A woman is rolling her wheelchair up a sidewalk and stops to speak to the waitstaff on the sidewalk.
Hey, where's your ramp?
Oh, I didn't know that we needed to have one.
The woman looks at the waiter, concerned. The woman rolls her wheelchair from the sidewalk and down a ramp to the table area on the street. Learn more, downtownmadison.org.
So that was the first one. Very cool. And I want to give a quick shout out to Big Dreamers United. John Urban did the shoot for that. Their support was really instrumental. Just going on to the next one. Hang on one second there.
Yeah, while you're pulling that up, a huge thanks to our friends, obviously, at World #1 Hospitality, and Lucille, and Cora, and Merchant, which were all featured in these videos as well. It's a true team effort. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the partnership with Design Craft to help get the social media campaign developed and launched has been critical. So it's just brought a lot of new partners together and just continues to exemplify what's so cool about the work of the Beyond Compliance Subcommittee. And I think that it lays a foundation for our work to come. But without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and show the second video.
Great. Here's my evilness in
Yes.
video form. Maybe people think I am evil. I don't know.
And we'll find out. Here we go.
Accessible outdoor dining, restrooms. A woman using a cane stops in front of a restaurant and speaks to a waitstaff.
Where's the washroom?
It's right inside and up a flight of stairs.
I can't walk up that many stairs.
Maybe try the place down the street.
The woman looks visibly frustrated. The woman is approached by the waitstaff.
Where's the restroom?
We have an accessible porta potty right here. May I show you the way?
Thank you.
Learn more, downtownmadison.org.
I love these videos, Jason, and that you've got them on 8 to 10 different subjects, really going to help the staff. And we're going to get out these videos to all of the different restaurants and businesses that pull a streetery or an outdoor dining permit from the city. And so they'll have these videos, and we're about to launch a campaign. We're finishing up our side of the website now to make sure everything is accessible and ready to go. Once we do that, we're going to get that out to the public. But Jason, thank you. What was the highlight for you on this important next project for the Beyond Compliance Subcommittee?
I think what was really a highlight for me, again, as I mentioned before, bringing all these partners together. And I think the highlight's going to be seeing the engagement with the public. I think not only were we talking about getting out to people who work in these spaces, but we also want people with disabilities, allies, and others to also engage with this content. So if you start to see information, whether it's through social media, email, other ways, help us get the word out. Help share this content, this information on your social media pages. Share the email. Any ways you can help share the information is really helpful to the cause because it builds that awareness. And one of the other cool things about all of these projects is that they were intended to reach our goal of a fully accessible and inclusive downtown Madison. But every one of these projects to date has been used and been valued or viewed well beyond downtown Madison. And that's really cool that the work we're doing here is having an impact here and elsewhere. And so I'm really proud of that fact. And so really excited about getting that launched. And then we'll be looking to the future, and we'll be having some cool things coming up in the future here. A new partnership we're working on between DMI and Access to Independence to, again, really move the needle around accessibility and inclusion and supporting DMI members as well. And so looking forward to sharing more about that in the next year plus. And yeah, so a lot of great things and really excited and really appreciate, again, Jason, your support, the support of the staff at DMI, who they get stuck with a lot of the tasks to make our ideas and our suggestions come to reality. So just so much appreciation and again, looking forward to ongoing partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to John Trenelia and Madeline Plum on our team that have done such great work. We're really, really quite thankful for everything that's happening. And I do appreciate that every guest that's appeared on the June DMI Advocacy Update has teased something very well. So you just teased the next project. Last question for you here, Jason, is how is downtown Madison doing when it comes to accessibility? What improvements, what opportunities do we have to improve the situation for everyone? I mean, 23 to 25% of all Americans are people with disabilities. What can we do to make sure that everyone feels welcoming and at home here in downtown Madison?
Yeah, so I think what's going well right now in Madison is there's a growing awareness about going beyond that minimum compliance, which is great. If you do anything to a minimum compliance level, you can't expect big results and things that really are impactful. So I'm really appreciative of the more conversations that we have, the more we have the work that we share. People are beginning to understand, okay, ADA is a starting point, not the goal. So I'm really happy to see that and see that there's a much greater awareness and intention with accessibility and disability inclusion in downtown Madison. But certainly we have a lot of places to keep improving and a lot of spaces to keep making more inclusive. And so that's, I know, the work that we have ahead of us for, again, a fully accessible and inclusive downtown Madison. No community is perfect, but I think we can strive to make this a model downtown through our goal and really make it truly inclusive for everybody.
Well, and we have got projects coming along the pipeline, not to tease it even more, but it is a place-based project next. If anyone is interested in the work of Access to Independence, please check out their website. or the work of the Beyond Compliance Subcommittee, check out our website at www.downtownmadison.org. Our committee is open to anyone, not just members. And so please do join us. If you have ideas about what our next project should be, or you really want to get involved in this work, send a note to myself or Jason Beloungy. Basically just write Jason at, and you'll see what happens. Although that's neither of our email handles. We'll see what happens. But we're here to help. And the more people that are involved in this work, the stronger the work that we can do. I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to Jason Beloungy, the Executive Director of Access to Independence and the Chair of DMI's Beyond Compliance Subcommittee, for all the incredible work you've done for our community and for the downtown community in particular. Honestly, Jason, you have been an outstanding partner for DMI. So a million thank yous heading your way.
Thank you. Thank you as well to you.
Well, absolutely. Anyone that wants to get involved, again, let us know. Thank you for all of you who joined us today for the June Advocacy Update. Want to say a big thanks to our sponsors, our major series sponsors, our great friends at Sinair. We've got the Fiore companies and Hush Blackwell as well. So thank you to Sinair, Fiore, and Hush Blackwell for your continued partnership and sponsorship of the advocacy agenda. Hopefully we'll see you downtown sometime soon. This is the time to come downtown. We've all been hibernating for months. Come down, enjoy festivals. We'll see you at concerts on the square or Taste of Madison or at a Forward Madison game, you name it. We'll see you here downtown. Thank you all for your support. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day now.